Hi everybody, it's Judy here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's probably going to be a really long video today, so we're going to get right into it. Today I want to show you 15, possibly more, easy houseplants that you can grow for free. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking cuttings from a lot of my houseplants and propagating them with you in today's video. Now, what is this big box of dirt, you ask? Well, this is one of the propagation methods out there. So there's water propagation, in which you put cuttings in a glass of water, like I have here with this Heartleaf Philodendron, and propagation boxes with a growing medium like sphagnum moss or coco coir is another method. I did consider doing the water propagation method, but you guys have seen me do that before already here on my channel. So today I wanted to put all my cuttings into a propagation box. In here I have a whole bunch of coco coir. Now sphagnum moss is probably more my go-to propagation medium of choice, but I actually ran out of it. I didn't have any, so I had to make do with this block of coco coir that I had. It's a really good substitute for sphagnum moss. It's just a little bit more messy to use. As you'll see in this clip here, it was a very, very messy process for me to just break up that brick of sphagnum moss and add the right amount of water for it to break down and become this soil-like mixture. It's probably a process that you might want to do outside because your partner, your other half, will probably thank you for not making a mess in your dining room like I did right here. I have only myself to thank for the mess that I now have in my dining room. Also, it's important to note that this is, like I said, it's a very messy process and there is a fair bit of dust that kicks up, so I probably should have worn a mask while I was doing this, or like I said, did it outside so I'm not breathing in all that dust, or even start out with the right amount of water to soak up all that dust and to let it settle down. As you can see throughout this clip, I keep adding and adding water until I came up with the right amount. Anyway, and I just thought it was important to show you guys that process so you could see how to make a box of propagation stuff. Like I said, sphagnum moss is probably more my go-to, but I didn't have any, and coco coir is a pretty good substitute for that. So now, having said that, I'm going to start putting cuttings into this box, and I'm going to start with this Heartleaf Philodendron. Now, I did cut this a few weeks ago and put it in this glass of water, and I actually want to see how well this is going to go in a propagation box. I haven't actually done this method before, which is why I wanted to do it today. But this is one way that you can propagate cuttings, just in a propagation box. So the whole process of this video is basically going to be pretty repetitive, but I'm going to be showing you 15, possibly more, different houseplants that I'm going to be taking cuttings from and putting in this box. So like I said, Heartleaf Philodendron, I've got some cuttings in this glass of water. It's been in this water for about a week and it actually hasn't really grown any roots yet. So I'm going to take all of these cuttings and stick them into this box, and hopefully, can you guys see what I'm doing? Hopefully they grow a lot quicker because I'm going to pop the lid on and it'll create a more humid environment within this box for these cuttings to grow. I'm going to bring you guys in a bit closer. So basically what I did with this Heartleaf Philodendron was just I took one long vine that was growing out and cut it at the nodes. So there's a node there, and there's actually a node there. What I'm actually going to do with this is cut this down because I don't need all that extra internode there. And I'm going to try and grow this as a wet stick and just stick that into there. Hopefully that will grow a root on its own. I'm going to stick that in there. So like I said, this whole process is pretty repetitive. You will really get the gist of what I'm doing pretty quickly. I'm going to keep an eye on this box and make sure that it stays quite moist. With the lid on, it shouldn't dry out too quickly, but I'm also going to keep this in an area that gets a lot of bright, warm sunlight. Well, sunlight is warm. That was redundant. That's gonna get a lot of light and warmth, is what I mean to say. And hopefully within a few weeks or a couple weeks, I'm gonna see a lot more decent root growth on these nodes. I feel like, while I haven't done this method before, I feel like this method would be a lot quicker than propagating in a glass of water, simply because it's kind of recreating the environment of a greenhouse where it's warm, it's humid, and it's going to be sitting in a brightly lit spot, and it's kind of creating that atmosphere that these little plants, these little cuttings need to grow whole new plants. Whereas if it's just sitting in a glass of water, it's really just sitting there. It's not really retaining a lot of humidity and warmth. So we'll see how well these cuttings grow. There you go. It's pretty straightforward, you know. Just stick it in there and see what happens. I'm gonna put this in here because probably need more water anyway. Very messy. It's a very messy process. I find sphagnum moss to be a little bit less messy, but anyway, here we are. It is what it is. I'm also going to put this glass of cuttings of silver satin Scindapsis in this box too. I cut this about a month ago and it hasn't really given me a whole lot of like decent root growth, which doesn't really surprise me a whole heap because this Scindapsis is a pretty slow grower in and of itself anyway. So what I'm going to do is stick all these cuttings. Ooh, that's actually one decent root there. That's so cool. Wow. Okay, I just ate my words. I didn't notice these roots. That is so cool. I think that's ready to go in like proper soil. All right, well, these ones have proper roots on them, so I think those ones I'm going to pot into some soil when I finish this video. I'm so excited about that. I didn't even notice those roots there. I'm so sorry. Did I ignore you that much? But the nodes that don't have those kinds of root growth, like these here, they look pretty much the same as the day I cut them. I'm gonna put these in here and hopefully these will grow some decent roots. Again, I'm gonna take that node, try and grow that from wet sticks, stick that in there and stick that in there as well. Okay, so that's 2 down. I think the next one that I want to cut that I haven't actually propagated before is this neon pothos. Look at this striking foliage. I've never propagated this one before, but I actually want to try it today. It's got this one long lonely vine growing out, so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that one back. And having cut that one back, that'll encourage new growth to start coming out from the rest of this plant here. So I'm gonna put that one back on the shelf and I'm gonna propagate this. So again, cut it at the nodes. Now, if you guys weren't sure what nodes were, you should go watch my water nodes video, and I explain in depth in that video what nodes are. But just as a very quick explanation of what they are, if you're not sure, is nodes are a spot on a plant where it's a growth point. So a growth point is where the roots are going to grow from and where the leaf is going to grow from. Leaves generally mark the spot on a plant where a growth point is, or a node is, and that's where you're going to want to cut. So if you're going to take cuttings from a plant, just make sure it has a growth point on it, and you are going to be able to make a whole new plant out of that cutting. So there we go. I've got 3, 6, 7. So I've got 7 cuttings from that. That's not bad at all. And again, just like before, stick that into the soil or the coco coir and just hope that that takes and makes some roots. I might do a propagation box update in a future video if you guys would be keen to see that. All right, so there we go. We have some neon pothos. Keeping with the pothos theme, I think I'm going to take some more cuttings from my golden pothos, also known as devil's ivy. This is my mother plant here. I have made so many little baby plants from this plant here, and today I'm going to do it again. So we've got a bit of an unruly branch right here, so I think I'm gonna cut it off just right there and propagate that. Let's put this one back. I've already got a couple other propagations on the go using this devil's ivy, so I don't want to go too crazy with this one because, like I said, I've already got a lot on the go. So again, just cut it at the nodes. Now, I know it is coming into winter, and I did say in my last propagation video that it's probably my last time to take propagations or cuttings until the warmer weather, but I just couldn't help myself, and I really wanted to make this video and I just really wanted to try this propagation box method. Also, like I said before, putting propagations into this box kind of creates the atmosphere of a greenhouse. So what's happening out here, like in the colder weather, with this current seasons of winter is irrelevant because it's got its own little atmosphere going on within the propagation box, if that makes any sense. So I felt pretty comfortable to do this today, but who knows, we'll see. Maybe I will be regretting my words in a week's time when all of these cuttings go yellow or something, but I don't know. I will update you guys in a future video. The next plant I want to cut is a Raphidaphora Tetrasperma, also known as a mini Monstera. This is my mini Monstera. I feel a little bit sad to cut it back, but it's actually outgrowing the space that I've got it in right now. And it's okay to cut your plants back if they're outgrowing the space that you have for them. It's totally fine to cut them back, don't feel bad. In fact, cutting them back actually encourages them to push out new growth from the base as well. So it's got two long vines growing out in both directions. What I actually want to do is trim it back on both arms. So I'm going to cut it back here. And I'm also going to cut it back here. Here, right here. She's so much shorter now. Oh my goodness. I feel really bad doing that, but at the same time, it's gonna fit a lot better on the shelf now. There we go. So now we have all of this. And again, same deal. Cut it at the nodes and stick it in the soil. Kind of run out of things to talk about, and we're not even at the 10 plants point yet. Raphidaphora Tetrasperma is a pretty fast grower, if you ask me, in my personal experience with it. Even propagating it in water, I found it to be a really fast root grower. So I've got pretty high hopes for it in this propagation box. So let me see, I had several cuttings from that. It was at least 10. Now, all right, the next plant that I want to cut is this Hoya Australis. You guys may have seen this plant or remember me talking about this plant in my plants that hang video. And I did mention that there's only one single Hoya growing in the top of this pot. And I kind of want it to grow out a lot more full. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it back here. There we go, cut it back. And I'm just gonna allow that to continue to grow and do its thing. But what I'm gonna do with this is propagate each one at the node. And then once these grow roots, I'm gonna plant this back into the top of that pot so it has more than one plant growing out of it, and it's a lot more lush and full at the top too. And then when it starts to grow out and cascade down the sides of the pot, it'll be a lot more full and lush and vibrant. So that's kind of the reason why I like to take more than one cutting from a plant, so that I have more than one plant when I put them in a pot of soil. So there we go. This is the Hoya Australis. I've never actually propagated this one before, so it'll be interesting to see how this one behaves in this propagation box. Hopefully the leaves don't go mushy or yellow, but I suppose we shall wait and see, won't we? I've had a lot of luck propagating Hoya before. It's just this particular one I haven't really done before. So we'll see how we go. Hoya, this is a pretty easy way to propagate Hoya. You can do this in sphagnum, or coco coir, or you can do it in water. You don't have to propagate in this method. This is just my chosen method for today's video to show you different plants that you can put in a propagation box and create a whole new bunch of new plants from them. Okay, what is next? Okay, so here's another box of propagation that I did earlier on this month, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside. So I've had it in here for about a month, and this is a Hoya Carnelia, and I've got this one in sphagnum moss. I open the lid like every 2 or 3 days to give it some fresh air, and then I close it up again. It's just to prevent the moss from going moldy or stagnant. It still needs some air to grow. So that's the growth after a month. We've got some tiny little roots there coming through, and this is so cute, so pretty. Look at those roots, how gorgeous. This is a Hoya Carnelia, another plant that you can grow from cuttings. And another one is the string of hearts, also known as Seraphidaphora woodii. I think that's how you pronounce it, or chain of hearts, string of hearts. Anyway, look at it. You know what I'm talking about, right? I did a video about propagating my string of hearts. If you guys want to see that, I'm going to link it up here or in the description box down below. But I've also got some chain of hearts cuttings in this sphagnum moss here. I only did this one yesterday, so it hasn't got any root growth coming through as yet. But I'm pretty hopeful about that happening quite soon, because this one is a pretty fast grower. If you got it in the right environment, like this propagation box, those roots are gonna come through. Okay, here's something a little bit different. This is a snake plant, a Sansiveria, and did you know that you can propagate this from leaf cuttings? Like literally you chop up the leaf. So I'm gonna do one leaf and show you guys what I'm talking about. So let me just find one leaf that I don't really feel like I'd be too sad if this plant lost. So I'm gonna cut maybe this one here, cut it at the base. There you go. Don't even miss it from the existing plant. So what you could do with this is you could pop it in a glass of water just like that and wait for that to grow. Or what you could also do, which I'm going to be doing today, is cut it in sections. So if you cut it in section like this, pop the bottom part in your propagation medium, just like that, in there. That's going to grow roots from the bottom. And you could also keep on doing it with segments from your plant. Like, how cool is that? Just make sure that you stick the bottom part of the leaf into that soil, and you are going to continue to grow more Sansevieria or snake plants. How cool is that? So only from one leaf you can take as many cuttings as you can. So from that one leaf, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 7 cuttings. I'll be very interested to see how that one goes. I've heard that this is a pretty common way to propagate Sansiveria. So we'll check back in a couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll see how that one's going. All right, the next one is a Monstera Siltepecana. If you guys remember in my last propagation video, I actually chopped this one up from 2 really long vines in this one pot, and now I've probably got close to 15 to 20 cuttings growing in the top of this pot right here. Consider this your update. I said I was gonna update about it. It's going so well. Look how lush the top of that plant is. I don't think I lost any of the cuttings, and this one is just such a go-getter. She's going nuts. So I love this one so much. So what I'm gonna do is just take a couple cuttings from this one. So I'm just gonna take it from maybe from here, and this loop-de-loop is kind of driving me nuts, so I'm gonna cut that out as well. Just there and there. Whoops, there we go. Now this thing, beautiful thing, can go do her thing and live her life to the fullest while I continue to make new little babies from her. So again, cut it at the node. I should make a song about this. Cut it at the node. Cut it at the node. So cheesy. It's okay. I don't care if you guys leave a comment and tell me that I'm lame. I know I'm lame. This is me, crazy plant lady, sitting alone in my house, talking to a camera, talking to my plants. I'm officially a crazy plant lady, and I love it. I will take that title and hold it dear to my heart. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 cuttings of this Monstera Siltepecana. This one I've found to be a really super fast grower for me. Oh, something to note when you are putting your cuttings into a propagation box like this, if you leave it in here for like months, chances are your roots are gonna grow out and get tangled with each other. So you're just gonna wanna keep an eye on them and make sure that they don't get unruly and out of hand, because you're gonna have a lot of trouble trying to untangle the roots of several different types of plants from each other. So there's just that to keep in mind. The next plant that I wanna cut, I'm going so crazy with these cuttings, is this Marble Queen Pothos. Look how beautiful that foliage is. I love the variegation on the leaves. It's got some leaves that have kind of reverted back to jade with a tiny little bit of marbling still there. So what I'm gonna do is cut that back, and maybe that'll encourage more marbling to grow through on the main mother plant. So I'm just gonna take those. I don't think I really want to take much more off of this because it doesn't have a lot of hanging bits yet. So I'm just gonna leave it there. leave it at that and let it continue to grow before I take any more cuttings. But what I've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 cuttings, that's pretty good. When these root out, chances are I'll probably plant them back into that existing pot to have an even more full and lush top of the plant. But we'll do that when I get to it. So again, just stick them in there. This is actually so exciting to me. I've never done this before. I'm really happy that I'm able to share this experience with you guys. Okay, the next one I'm a little bit nervous about because I've never actually propagated Syngonium before. But I've heard that this method is very effective in propagating Syngonium. And I'm just gonna take maybe just 1 cutting because I don't know how it's gonna go. There you go, 1 single stem cutting. We'll see how this goes in this propagation box. This is a pixie Syngonium. Look how gorgeous that foliage is. Take off those dead leaves at the bottom. I love that it's got like 1 full clump at the base and then just spreads out into 1 full head at the top. So cute. So yeah, Syngonium, you can propagate from nodes. You just gotta make sure that it has those node growth points at the base there. This is a vining plant, so the bigger and the longer it grows, it's gonna start to cascade out the sides of the pot. It's just not there yet. Syngonium is another one that you can propagate. So we've got that 1 cutting there, and I'm gonna put that in. It's a bit tall for the box, I think. What am I gonna do? If you can see here on this stem cutting here, because it's grown quite tall, it actually has 1, 2, 3 growth points. As short as those internodes are, I'm gonna try and cut between each node and create 3 whole cuttings from this because it has the growth points. Why not use them? You know what I mean? You feel me? There we go. Let's see if that does anything. So now I've got 4 cuttings of this Syngonium. I might just kind of semi-lay it down there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do you guys love Syngonium? I think at this point I have maybe 3 or 4 Syngonium plants. They're nothing exotic or special. I just love them so much. Red Vein Maranta is another plant that you can grow from cuttings. I'm a little bit sad to cut this one because she's just starting to get so nice and lush and full, but I did promise a friend of mine that I would grow some cuttings for her to give to her as a housewarming present later on in the year when they move into their new house that they're building. So I thought I may as well get started and growing some cuttings for her. So what I'm gonna do is just cut this back here. If you haven't seen my what are nodes video and you aren't quite sure what nodes look like on a Red Vein Maranta, I explained it in depth in that video, but here, just quickly, if you run your finger up this vine here, you feel a little knuckle there, and there's leaves growing out of that knuckle. That's where the node is. So that's where I'm gonna cut, just there. Oh, sorry, honey, she's looking a little bit smaller now. But here we go, we've got this beautiful cutting of Red Vein Maranta. So I'm gonna cut at the node. As you can see here, there's a stem and there's a little knuckle right there. That's a new node too. So I'm gonna cut off that leaf and that is a whole new plant. So here we go, cut off at the node. So that gives me 2 cuttings. I think I need that. Do I need that bit? I don't think I need that bit. It's just a leaf sheath. There is a node growing on this one individual stem here. So I'm gonna cut that one off and cut that one off there too. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives me 5 cuttings and that'll be a pretty full plant once I put that in a pot with some soil. Can you guys see here? I'm getting pretty full up in here. I'm gonna pop this in the soil. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It'll be pretty interesting to see how these cuttings go because I have found that with Maranta or Tenanthe, with these type nodes, they take some time before the roots start poking out of them. So the leaves will probably curl up and look a bit dehydrated, and once the roots poke out from the node, it'll start to drink up all the water or moisture or wherever it's sitting in, and then all those leaves will unfurl again, which is so interesting to me. It's pretty cool. This is making me so excited. I'm really excited with all these new plants that I'm growing. This is, just makes me feel some type of way. All right, the next one is this spider plant. I've heard spider plants are really super easy to propagate because, as you can see from the mother plant here, it starts to grow all these little baby vines growing down the sides of the pot. 1, 2, 3, all these like little baby spiders. So if you look along this vine here, it's got several new growth points on there. So I'm going to cut that off there and propagate this. I don't think I actually really need, what I'm going to do is leave that hole and just pop that straight in. From each node is going to grow some roots and grow a whole new plant. So very, very easy to propagate spider plants, really simple as well. Just pop that into some soil or your propagation medium of choice, and there we go. Within a few weeks, that's going to have some roots, and then within a few months, it's probably going to be this big again because they're very, very fast growers. The next one is a Hoya Carnosa, a very, very common species of Hoya, and also very, very easy to grow. It's getting fairly long here. What I'm going to do is just cut it back, maybe here. There we go. Leave this beauty to keep on doing her own thing. Hoya are so easy to propagate, so easy to grow, and they're very, very low care plants. All you gotta do is water it when the soil is dry. It'll tell you when the soil is dry. If you feel the leaves and they don't feel firm and succulenty, they'll feel quite limp and soft. I feel like the soil is dry here, but the leaves are telling me it's still got enough moisture in there, so I'm gonna let it be. Hoyas are very, very easy to overwater, so just keep an eye on that and make sure that the soil is actually dry or the leaves are giving you a sign of dehydration, like I just explained before. So I'm gonna take that cutting, and again, at each node, you guessed it, cut at the node. Sorry if this video is really repetitive, you guys. It is what it is, I suppose. And again, you guessed it. What are we doing? Sticking it in the soil. Oh dear, I'm cracking myself up now. I'm really hungry. So there we go. Hoya Carnosa in the box. And the last one I want to cut is this Monstera Swiss cheese. Wow. I just blanked out. I am hungry. Oh, Monstera Adansonii. That's what this is. I've taken cuttings from this recently, but for the sake of this video, I might try and just do a few. Again, it's pretty simple. Cut at the nodes. The characteristics as far as nodes and propagation goes is very similar to the Pothos. So you're just gonna want to cut at the nodes. There we go. Got a cutting right there. And this one I found to be a very fast grower as well. So I've got 2 cuttings there. I don't think I really need more than that. I just want to fill up this last little bit of space here in the box. And one more. I think I'm going to do a Hoya just because it's in easy reach of my arm. Within arm's length, that's how you say that saying. So this is a silver sparkle Hoya, I think it's called. And it doesn't have a lot of like really super long growth points right there, but I'm gonna take just a couple, just for the sake of this video. There's one there, stick that in, and there's another one there. There we go, 2 cuttings. Once these root out, most likely I'll pot them back straight into the main plant to have it a lot more lush and full at the top. So I've lost count. I honestly don't know how many plants I've cut already at this point, but here we are, and I'm guessing, I think I'll end the video there. Now, like I said before, all of these cuttings, you can do them in water, you can do them straight into some moist soil, but for me, I'm gonna try this propagation box method, and we'll see where this growth luck takes me. Wow, I can't speak anymore. I need to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm sure I'll answer them at a time when I'm in a lot better headspace than I am right now. It's pretty late in the evening, so I'm gonna leave this video as it is right now. Thanks guys for watching. Stay tuned for a propagation box update in a future video. I hope this video was helpful for you, gave you some inspiration to make some cuttings and grow some new plants out of your existing plants. You don't have to spend a heap of money to create a whole bunch of new plants. Within a few months, I'm gonna have another whole bunch of plants here, which is actually really exciting to me. Thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate you've chosen to spend your time here with me today. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!